Just do one thing, baby step. Like you want to become a designer? You know what? Go to your friend's house and tell her to film like something that you're doing in her living room and start an Instagram account. I mean, I think you just have to just do it.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I'm so happy to have you here. When I first was coming up with like the idea of the show in my mind, I was just thinking, I just want to have people I love on the show, like my friends, come over and sit down, have tea with me, and talk about all things life. So the fact that I have you here chatting with me and I adore you, and I mean, I consider you to be my good friend,
I
even
feel
though
the
we're like,
same way.
it's like we're like clients yet friends. And so the fact that you're here chatting with me just means the world. So welcome to the show, Gail. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. I feel honored to have been invited. I'm such a big admirer of you, and it's been really a fun experience to be part of your journey and your
Mm,
life. And so
mm.
this is so much fun. I've been looking forward to it.
Okay, so for those who don't know you, I mean, we've met a couple of different ways. Like one through a meditation program that you did with me, which is like so sweet. And you were, I think that was my first program, and you were one of the very first people who ever signed up
Probably.
to to sit and meditate. I think you were like client number two for me. And you helped design my kitchen in Chicago and
That
picked out
was so
basically all
fun.
of our furniture. And I want you to know that even here in California, the sofa we have is still the couch that you told me to get. I was like,
Oh my
Gail, I
God.
just texted you. I'm like, what do we get? Just tell me what
Right.
to do. And you're like, this is the sofa. So just so you know, however many years later, you're still in my house to this day. So for those who don't know you, can you share a little bit about yourself and about GL Design and tell us a little bit about you?
So my name is Gaelle Dudley. I am the creative director and founder of GLDESIGN, which is a full service interior design firm based out of Fairfield, Connecticut. Gosh, I started in design over 15 to 20 years ago, working for hospitality brands all over the world, and decided to go out on my own just about 9 years ago now. And it's been a ride. It's been so
Yeah.
much fun. I love it. I have 5 employees, and some full time, some part time. We are a strong team of women. Not that I have anything against hiring men. It just happens
Yeah.
to be that we're a bunch of kick ass women, and I am thrilled to be here.
So, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into design, how you started GL Design? Like, where was the impetus for that? Where did that come from? Have you always been into design?
Yes. From when I was a little girl, I was born and raised in France. And, culturally, I think that design and art and music is very much a day to day
Yeah.
experience in Europe and
Yeah.
especially in France. So I went to the American School of Paris and sort of, have been surrounded with culture, different languages,
Yeah.
different behaviors of cultures around me my whole life. So it was very natural for me to be sort of transition into this field. I did not start my career in design whatsoever. I went to college for business. I focused on marketing. And so I graduated with my Bachelor of Science with a concentration in marketing. So I was always very creative, but I definitely thought that my path was to be a CMO, to be a chief marketing officer, very similar to, following my father's footsteps.
Yeah.
And that sort of all changed when I had a health scare. And it sort of brought me back to this reality of like, is this really what I want to do day
Yeah.
to day is go into an office, even though I was traveling all around the world and putting on golf tournaments around the world and setting up residences for people who live at the top of hotels and working for really amazing brands. And I think that it just was more of a realization of like, is this really where I feel complete?
Yeah. And when you decided to make the leap of faith, I feel like it's easy to see someone, for example, like you, and you have this incredibly successful business and you have this beautiful life. And on top of it, like you're stunning and you're gorgeous. You seem to quote unquote have it all together. But I'm sure that the journey from leaving your corporate job and taking the leap of faith into GL Design was not as smooth as maybe it seems like it is now. Can you talk a little bit about those early days, about taking that first step, like the decision to quit your corporate job? Like, can you take us back to those like beginning moments?
So I remember specifically sitting in my car in Greenwich, Connecticut, in a parking lot, and I was so nervous to tell my dad, who was
Yeah.
very much on this like corporate ladder, and my mom too, for that matter. She was always such a big supporter of women, obviously getting their education and staying in like the corporate field and being financially independent. And she encompasses all of that strength, and my dad taught us well that way. And for me to say bye-bye to a steady
Yeah.
paycheck was like, what? Why did you even go to college? Like, so the early days were hard. So, but I'm a go-getter. I don't stop working, but I do believe that I have a balance, because work for me is, and this is why I went out on my own, is fun. And as long as it feels good to me, it doesn't, obviously it is work, but it doesn't feel toxic. It doesn't feel like my mental and physical capacity has been reached and then I
Yeah.
burn out. I think that going out on my own was a leap of faith, yes, but it was more like, okay, Gail, do you have like the cojones to really do this? And I did. I wanted to do it. I had saved money to do it. I didn't have any investors invest in my business whatsoever. My husband and I had a real big sit down, and I said to him, listen, like, I'm going to lean on you for a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is really hard for me because I've been independent financially my entire life.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
here's my business model, and here's what I think I could do. I had on the side, before I left my corporate job, first of all, two things. One, where I was working was going through a merger. And
Yep.
so I negotiated a severance package. So that's a luxury that maybe not everybody, has. Then I leaned on my husband a little bit, and we got, that backing. While I was still employed at this company, I had started working on the weekends and in the evenings, building up my portfolio. And I didn't jump into interior design like, with big clients. I started doing people's planters outside of their front
Yeah.
porch. And then I'd peek into their living room and I'd be like, well, we need to we need
Like,
to
can I freshen up in here
refresh
too? Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
And so they were like, wait, you do interior too? And I'm like, well, I do my own interiors. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't go to school for it. I did obviously have quite a large education, but I didn't go to school for design. But I just sort of designed from my heart. And I was like, this is sort of what I would do for myself. If it's your aesthetic, that works great. And then I started working for free.
I am so appreciative of you sharing that story. Especially like just being honest about, and I don't want to use the word like privilege, but some of the planning that you had to go into. I think sometimes just even sharing that is helpful for women. I know a lot of our audience is in this like midlife range and looking to make changes in their life and looking to maybe change careers. And I'm guessing, so you are what, like something in like early 40s when you did this?
So I was 40.
Isn't that wild to think like you were 40 and back in the like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I would have thought like by my 40s, I would have been like so
Yeah.
solidified in my career. And here you were like just
Yeah.
walking away from your career, starting over. And, and here you are now in your 50s. And I think so many women like just want to share, it's never too late. Like you can always make pivots. And I love how you're like, I didn't have this background necessarily, but I started working, having a little side hustle, planting little seeds, putting it out there. Like you were
Mhm.
building this and working on this and dreaming on this. And I hate the word manifesting, but like kind of
Yeah.
doing that
Yeah.
before you even left your job.
Yep. So I will say I did not leave my career when I had children. I hated maternity leave.
You
Um,
did. Okay.
oh yes,
I can see that. It's off. Being home is hard.
it was lonely. I felt very much like in a box. I couldn't wait to get back to work. And I love my children. One is in college and very successful, and they're both very happy. One's in high school. I don't know if just culturally it was different for me, but like it was never a choice for me to not work.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be financially independent.
Yeah.
I really admire, every single choice that women make. And
Yeah.
you can't compare your path to another person's path. And I
Yeah.
would say that having raised children where we live here in Fairfield County, which is a rather affluent area, there are more women that do not work, right,
Yep.
than there
Yep.
are women that do work. And I think there's this like, oh, I can take off 15 years of working and raise my children and then go back into the workforce. I think that's really hard to do. So I guess my only thing that I would say is you don't have to go to a corporate job to be working. Do what you love to do. You can still, raise your children and be working on a passion of yours. I have so
Yeah.
many friends, like even, yourself, who start a practice and like the following that you have been able to sort of magnetize. And I'm just like, okay, this is incredible. And there's just such
Yeah.
an opportunity now, much more so than when I was,
Oh, yeah.
I
It's a
mean, there
different
was
world.
no like, I mean, there was
Right,
blogging, but
right.
there was kind of, we were on Rocket.
No.
I think for me is the message for me is just, like I never stopped working by choice because that was my path for me. But and being a mom is also, really challenging. And there were times when I wanted to quit and I wanted to spend more time with my children. And there were times where I wanted to spend more time at work
I could see
too,
that. Yeah. Yeah.
vice versa. But work is no longer defined as, like I said, going into an office. Work
Yeah.
is just make sure you keep something for yourself. And
Yeah.
that would be the
I love
only
that.
thing that for me has always been my driving force. When
Mm,
I got married, it was the same thing. Like I love my husband.
yeah.
I never completely lost my identity or
Yeah.
lost myself.
Yeah.
And that's probably from having been raised by incredible parents who
Yeah.
always taught me self identity and self accomplishment and self being proud of yourself. And I've done plenty of not proud things,
Yeah. Yeah.
plenty of not
Yeah.
proud things, and plenty of failures and plenty of mistakes. But doing that actually defines who you are even more.
Yeah, yeah. I love that so much of just like keeping a piece to yourself, whether that's in your marriage, whether that's in motherhood. And you're so right. This idea, like I would think about it. There's a woman, Neha Rush, who talks about this a lot about the gray area for mothers. It's not like a working mom or a non-working mom. We all kind of have this gray area and really
Absolutely.
pursuing your passions. And it doesn't have to be a 9 to 5 thing. And I think you're so right for women. It's like, not getting lost and like losing, keeping something for yourself, whether that's just a
Yeah.
passion, whether it's volunteering, whatever it may be.
And all of that leads to, the it's like and I know you're like very like anti-label like this, and it's one of the reasons that I do follow you and love you is that like, like the word manifest, everybody's like, oh, we're manifesting this. Like, okay, this is now overused. It's like in my business, the word organic, like, oh, the
Totally.
organic teachers. I'm like, oh my God. If someone tells me I have to put
Oh my
another
God.
organic coffee
Oh my
table in
God.
this space, I might lose my mind.
Oh, I'm laughing so hard. Yes.
I'm like, it's wood. Okay, let's just be
Yeah.
honest. But no, I mean, I get it. But like, and
Yeah.
it's true, like the word manifesting is hard. But I think that like the word work is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
it's like
Yes.
some of us, we wake up in the morning, we go to work for sure. But like that puts us in this box. And it's like, oh,
Yes.
you're either working or not working. Like you
Yeah.
said, we're all working. Whether
We're all
we're all working.
But you know what's so funny, Gail? Someone messaged me the other day. They left a comment and she's like, I don't know what's so hard about your life. You don't even work. And now, mind you, I am staying home with I have 4 young kids.
Don't
We
you
don't
love
have any
those
help.
people? Yeah.
But I think, and I was feeling for her and I was like, it's not your fault you feel that way. It's not her
Mhm.
fault. I almost like had empathy for her because I was like, we are in this culture where women don't have enough support to begin with. And we're all working and yet our society doesn't recognize that. And I think you're right. It's like, there's so much, whether it's like labeled of working or non-working, in the home, not in the home, we're all like literally busting our butts constantly. Like no one is sitting around eating
But
bonbons. Let me tell
honestly,
you
the
that.
hardest work I ever did, and I'm not going to lie, which is why I said earlier, like it just wasn't for me, was maternity leave. There were so many feelings of like loneliness and challenge and newness. And you're like, like you're having like an out of body experience that first month,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I shouldn't complain because there are some women who don't even get maternity leave in this
Yeah.
world. And
Yeah.
that time to spend with your child. I would
Yeah.
say some of us bond with our kids during that time and some of us don't. I had an experience both ways. And I think like, it was the hardest work. And so it's not about like working to make money.
Switching gears just a little bit, but
Yeah.
keeping on this, just because you kind of introduced motherhood here for a minute. And, you do have these two growing boys, one off at school, but one still at home with you. You were married. You have a very vibrant like life in Connecticut. And I think I know the answer here, but like, how in the hell do you do it all? Like, how are you juggling it all? Like, please tell me, because I'm overwhelmed over here. I don't even have
Yeah.
clients like you do. How are you juggling it all and managing it all? And how are you dealing with like the stress of it all? Like, how
Mhm.
do you manage it?
So it's funny. So I want to turn this right back around to you, actually. So when you say I'm underwater all the time,
I mean, I just feel like I wake up and I'm already behind. And I know it's not true. And I have to tell myself constantly, like, this isn't true. It's just my brain. And that's a beautiful part of my ego, too, or like my brain, that because it keeps me going, keeps me motivated.
yeah,
And it can be my worst nightmare. It can be my worst enemy because
yeah,
it's always like not enough. And I don't know how, you and I are probably very similar. Like, I don't know how to turn off. And so I have to consciously work at that. But my mind loves to tell me when I wake up in the morning, like, you're behind, get going, keep going. And it just feels like there's always more on my plate than I can do in one day.
yeah.
But wait, this is not about me. This is about you.
Well, the reason I started with that is because I don't see myself doing it all. First of all, I have an incredible husband, and we've worked at this, like we've gotten to this point.
Yeah.
I knew marrying my husband that it was going to be a 50-50 thing. I was not going to be the one going to the grocery store. I was all the time. I knew I wasn't going to be the one doing laundry all the time. I knew I wasn't the one that wasn't going, who was always going to be home with the kids. I knew it. We split the tasks. When we met, we both had very high powered jobs. When we had babies, we both still had very high powered jobs. It was never a question in his head, oh, is she going to stay home with the kids? And
Yeah.
I hired a nanny. I put my kids in daycare. I don't know, maybe it's the European in me. Like I'm just a little bit more liberal, maybe. But I just was like, this was, one of my friends was the director at this incredible daycare. And it was a not for profit. And I was lucky enough to be able to put my son there. I swear to God, he walked to kindergarten spelling his name, doing math. And
Yeah.
like, he was like, I
Yeah.
dropped him off at 7:30 in the morning and I would pick him up at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
then my second, he was a preemie, so he wasn't really able to sustain daycare. He was sick a lot, so we got a nanny. So I mean, I don't do it all, and I think
Yeah.
that Instagram is this like terrible depiction of sort of life. Now I do a lot because I love
Yeah.
what I do, right? So I
Yeah.
manage a team, I work with high profile clients. I have 3 dogs. I have these 2 boys, but my husband is an incredible support system. And obviously, my mom now too. My father has passed, but my mom now too, and she's able to pitch in. I moved her closer to me during COVID, so I will say that it's like it's a division of forces, but I never gave myself a choice. I do it all because I don't have the luxury of not.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I come off
Yeah.
like I might. I live
Yeah.
in a very pretty house and I have, I guess, what people would call a privileged life, but it's not because I work my ass off,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
everyone else that can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't stop. And I didn't ever think I had a choice. That question is really hard for me because, like, how do you do it all? How do women who have half of what I have do it all?
Yeah.
They don't have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah. You
Like,
don't have a choice.
we don't have a choice.
And I think it's a really honest of you saying like you have a partner who's helping you.
Yeah.
And because I think a lot of partnerships aren't set up that way. And it takes a lot of shifting for people who aren't in that situation to have that conversation with their partner and to be able to rely on them to step up and take on more.
Yeah.
And it sounds like for you, the not having a choice is one thing is keeps you going and it pushes you. And probably there's a lot that you had to let go of that you weren't worried about. Like even the idea of like having the boys go off to daycare, having the nannies, like you have to let go of certain things. Like you can't physically do all of the things. You're not going to be the mom like baking banana bread and also running this business and having a team of 5 people. Although I'm
No,
sure you
I
can.
mean, I mean, I've heard you talk about it too. I think that I'm not the PTA mom who can attend every single event. I'm also not the entrepreneur that can attend every single event. I admire people who can do that. I have to say two things about that. One, it doesn't fill my bucket. Coming back to what is important, and I don't want to lose myself and do something that I don't want to do unless it's important to me. Now, that would include music concerts, which were terrible, but I still attended those. But I'm talking about voluntary like events. Like there's things that I will volunteer for that align with what I think fill my needs, and that could come off super selfish, but it's not.
No, it's not.
And
Thank you for saying that.
it's
Yes.
really not. It's like putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. I think that my kids do not suffer from me not attending that one thing. They just don't. Now, I've talked about it with them. Like, is it important to you that I'm there? And they're like, no, really. Like, it's a very open family. Like, we talk about a lot of things. And it's, thankfully, I'm so blessed to have children that feel comfortable to shoot the shit with me and tell me what's going on in their lives. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, yes, we do it all, but
Well, I feel like it's like you're picking and choosing what your all is, and it's not going to be the same as what everyone's all is. And you're letting certain things go and focusing on the things that are really important to you. And I love that you're having the conversation with the kids because I think that's really important. And then they can have, and even whether it's your partner or your friends, like, what do you need? And what do I need? And from there, let's pick and choose.
yeah, 100%. I mean, I have a friend, a lot of the women that work for me, they have very busy lives outside of work as well. And I have a very dear friend of mine who's also a coach for, a national championship team. And so she works all day, then she
Yeah.
coaches. And then she's a mom of three. And she's, and I'm just like, I look at her and I'm like, I send her pictures of like me in bed, like, oh, I'm so tired. And it's like, and I'm like, it's like 8:30 p.m. Like we laugh about it all the time.
So,
And then she'll send me a picture of her with like a raincoat coaching in the rain at like 8:30 p.m. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm going to retract.
totally. Yes. Yes.
I mean, so in a
It's
way,
all
like,
relative. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
What about stress for you? I mean, you're managing this team of 5, you've got clients, you've got a lot of different things going on. So when things get really stressful for you, or you're getting to a point of, I don't know, just like it feeling like a lot, whatever that may be, how do
Yeah.
you manage stress?
I'm so excited that you asked me this question because it's been such an evolution. So when I first started, I managed stress through going out to bars.
Okay. Yeah. 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 That was me too. Yeah. Right there.
So I think that like I would just take my paycheck and like meet people and go out to bars. And like I thought social was like my de-stressor, right? Like being social. I have come a long way. Obviously, I still like to go out, but I will say that exercise was a game changer for me. And although I meditate, I'm a huge like push yourself to the max in a really loud room with like dark room with loud music so that you know how chaotic that is. And then like what happens after is that it
Yeah.
gives you this like it takes all of that chaos and then it's like whoosh, like
Yeah.
goes way down. Yoga was not for me. I tried it, but then meditation was. So maybe I can only meditate for a small amount of time. Maybe that's why. So I would say exercise. And then the other de-stressor, and I just wrote about this in my blog yesterday, and this really only happened, I would say over the past couple of years, but mostly in the past year. I got rid of people around me that stressed me. And this was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And it's not just one person. It was just like, I got very in tune with my energy. I started to have like heart palpitations if a text would come in from a certain person or, and that could be a client. It could
Yeah.
be, friendship, client. It could be
Yep.
anywhere, a contractor. It could be
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
if my energy started to shift in a certain direction that started to make me feel anxious. I mean, I was like crippled with anxiety over a year. And I never had anxiety in my life, really, or maybe I did and I never was in tune with it. But I started to disengage from humans that changed my energy in a negative way. And that is how I dealt with stress. Is like I actually just started to make hard decisions.
How do you think that you were able to recognize that? Do you think is it getting older and becoming just a little bit like more in tune with yourself? Is it like, do you think it was through meditation? Like, what was the ability there to be able to recognize, like, oh, this is triggering for me and I'm going to do something about it?
So I've never been one to be able to compartmentalize. I live with those feelings. It's really yucky. I definitely wear my emotions on my sleeve. My friends who know me know that about me. Like school, I was bullied when I was younger, and like it really scarred me. And I could never like get over it. Right? I could never move on. And I think that the word is confidence for sure. As you start to be successful in things that make you happy, whether that be motherhood or adopting dogs like I do, left and right, or, writing or anything like that. I think that you start to feel accomplished, right, about something. So your confidence grows. And meditation taught me, I mean, when did I first take it? How many years ago
I
was it?
think it was like 3, 4 years
3
ago.
or 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So I would
Yeah.
say 3 or 4 years ago is when I was like starting to get back in touch with myself. Although I knew who I wasn't 100% confident.
I get
I
that
was
so
scared
much.
to rock the boat. I was scared to ruffle
I
feathers.
get that. Yeah.
Because in this cancel culture that we live in right now, there's so much aggression that people
Yeah.
just like come at you and like you have to choose whether that's a battle you really want to take on, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you become a shell of a person because you're actually not expressing yourself because you can't deal with the repercussions.
Yes. I agree so much.
So I was like, wait a minute, I'm not that. I'm like, gosh, when I saw Yellowstone and I saw the character of Beth Dutton, I'm like, that is
Okay,
what we
wait,
should be.
yeah. Okay, first, I feel like I'm the only person who's not seen Yellowstone, and now I need to go watch it
Oh
because
my
I
God.
don't know the reference,
Then I
but
can't
I'm
even
assuming
continue
she's
this
a
podcast.
badass. Okay, hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Just give me a couple hours.
First of all, I'm so glad that I brought that up. You that immediately need to watch with
Okay.
JP Yellowstone like
Okay.
yesterday. And the kids. Even my kids liked it. They were like, Mom,
Great.
I like you. And I'm like, wow, that's not a compliment. She's crazy, but
Stop.
she's also in a way, she's also in a way very eye-opening. So I think that confidence would be my word. Meditation had me find this piece that I had lost. And then I think I was able to then disengage from people without confrontation. And that was so people are like, oh, well, get rid of all these toxins. And then you like cut people off or you like front something, or which by the way is Beth Dutton. She's
Yeah.
confrontational. So don't anyone ever
Yeah.
do what she does. But I think there's a way to do it that you can find forgiveness, which I struggled with. You can find forgiveness in a way that works for you and isn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to text this person and say, you hurt my feelings. I'm a very go to the source person. I did try that in several ways, and clients too. Like if they started to give me like heart palpitations or like, I just like think I realized like, why am I taking all this shit? Like,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
is affecting me like my health. And
Well, yes.
so,
Yeah.
so
I think,
that
yeah.
was like the big moment. I was like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
no. And so confidence,
I
many
love that.
time.
I think you would get to an age, and for you, that was probably like your mid 40s. And I'm like in that era now. And like where you start to recognize, like, I have a choice in this. I hate the language like taking my power back, but you get to take it back on you and be like, now what do I want to do with this? If this situation is becoming stressful for me, if it's feeling overwhelming, if it's making my stomach turn, I get to now choose how to move forward with this. And I agree with you so much of like I want to dive into like this friendship area now and like a little bit. But of letting people go, it sounds so cheesy, but like in love, of like they served you well and like not having an attachment to them and having a little bit of compassion for them and compassion for yourself and like letting situations just kind of like letting them go in love.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think like that's a romantic way of saying it. It's ugly and it's messy.
Yes, of
You know,
course. It doesn't feel good.
it doesn't feel good. Like, and it's a grieving process. And like, I would say, like, I worked for a really abusive boss for a while, and like abusive, like he was horrible to me, like verbally abusive. I was actually pregnant with my first. He like pushed me out of an elevator. Like, it was so effed up.
Gail,
Yeah, it was
what?
crazy. Yeah, yeah. And I remember being like, I need to keep my job. I can't complain to HR. There was no such thing. HR was there to protect the brand of the company. It was not there to protect. Now it's different. Or maybe it is.
It's so
Maybe it's not.
no,
But
no,
like,
I agree with you. It was the same
but
when I was working in the corporate
yeah.
world. Yes.
So like all of those moments where I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what? So it was like almost this like meditation sort of just like in, you know, you like close your eyes. It like opened my eyes to like, God, you've just been through so much. And like now the stress is continuing in your life with other things. And it's like, I mean, I just let go of my first client. I've been in business for 9 years on my own. And I just let go of my very first client.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of this is incredible. And I feel like so many women can relate to it, whether it's in a dynamic with a friendship or with, even
Yes.
family members,
Oh,
whatever it may
yes.
be,
Family's
that
harder.
yeah, of like, not everything is gonna last for a long time. And I think you get to this point where you're exactly right. Like you build up your confidence, you find your inner voice, whether that's through meditation or through journaling or writing, whatever it is, where you feel this clarity in your words and you have this confidence behind it, that you get to make different choices in your dynamics and in your relationships. Can we shift it over a little bit? Speaking of some of this, I feel like we're segueing over there into friendships already. I know friendships are really important to you. And I think it's funny when I ask women, like, what do you want me to talk about? The number one question I get outside of like, people always want to talk about marriage, sobriety, and then friendships. I think a lot of us struggle with friendships. I think we see so many women having, or we think we see women having like all of these friends. And it's also hard to meet friends later in life. And there's dynamics of like, how do I forgive a friend who's hurt me or we're no longer close? I just think it's one of those topics that we all sort of like secretly struggle a little bit of like feeling confident with friendships. You seem to have quite a beautiful group of friends, like women who support you. Can you talk a little bit about friendship for you, that evolution, where you're at with friendships?
Sure. I mean, I was never the girl group person. I mean, I've since forever have had. I'm much more nomadic in my friendships, right? So I don't have like a clique or anything of like the same group of women that I spend time with all the time. And in middle school and high school it was the same. Like I was friends with like I was an athlete, so like the athletes, and I was friends with like the smokers outside the school, and I was friends with
Totally.
like,
Totally.
like I don't know, a bunch of different groups. And I do think that bothered a lot of people, right? Which is probably why I was bullied, but who knows? But I was I think I just never really had like I had like one or two like really best friends. And then as I grew into my career, I really spent most of my time with work people. Not until like I would say, much more recently, I would say like maybe, yeah, like maybe 20 years ago or 15 years ago, did I really understand friendship and
Yeah,
for
me
the
too.
need for women in my life. I was very like family, 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 right? So work and family, work and family. And a few key people who I'm still very close with today, and one of them who I actually work with now, opened my eyes to the need for womanhood and female friendships and
Yeah.
how important those women are in your life. And I still have many different groups that I see. I love sort of camaraderie, right? I don't think there should be any cliques or any like everybody that I'm friends with now. We welcome all and any. And I think that that's, you know, going to make other people not like you, but it's also going to, for those of you who speak the same language of love and friendship, and laughter, which is
Yeah.
key for me, and sort of this like work hard, play hard attitude, essentially, but with no judgment, no drama. I think that those are the most important people in my life, and I could probably count on 10 fingers who those women are.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very much the same. And it's funny hearing you say that. I don't think I really understood the importance of friendships until later in life, until like this chapter now. And I was the
Yeah,
same way, like couldn't like college, like could have cared less. This
yeah,
is like my era now where I'm like, okay, now I'm like finding myself and finding friendships, same
yeah.
thing. And I have found for myself just over the past few years, the more instead of like waiting for people to kind of come to me and wanting people to be friends for me, I had to go out and like be that friend and go
Mm,
out and like invest in people. And that's been a shift for me the past couple of years of really like putting in more effort. I don't have regrets, but I look back and I'm like, I don't think I appreciated some friendships the way I could have. And I don't think I invested the way I could have. And that's changing
agree.
for me now.
I have to say that that's the other thing. Like, because I didn't really understand the value of friendships earlier on in my life, I think I could have most likely, had more like friends like from my
Yeah.
past if I had given it the attention that that person
Yeah.
deserved.
I
And
wasn't ready.
yeah, I same. And I don't mean to like be mean or bitchy or any of that or alienating. I think I just didn't understand it and
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
give it the time.
Yeah. Agreed. You just celebrated a really big birthday. Can we talk about
Yes.
turning 50 and what that means for you? I
Yes.
like feel like I
Sure.
don't know how I'm looking at you and you're 50. And I know we're not supposed to talk about
Oh,
women's ages and like beauty stuff, but I look at you like you look like 22. Like it just does not make any sense to me. Like
definitely
I'm
not
still
22. I'm
so
happier, much happier now for sure
okay.
than
Yeah,
when I
talk
was
about
20.
that because I feel like even in like turning 40 felt like monumental in a certain way, but I was almost dreading it. And now I'm in my 40s and I almost feel this thing of like, I can't wait to turn 50 because I feel like all the women I know who are 50 are such badasses. And I'm like, oh, wait, does life just get better at 50? Is 50 like the golden number we all are waiting for? Tell me about 50.
I think we all choose that golden number, right? Like for me, it was 50. I mean, every year is a gift. I didn't think I was going to live to 40. I didn't
Yeah.
think I was going to live.
Yeah.
And I think when we went on your retreat, actually, when Jackie, remember, like she'd get it out
Yes.
of me.
Yes.
And like, she's like, why aren't you making future plans? I'm like, I don't plan for the future.
Yeah.
And she was
Yeah.
like,
I
I don't
remember this so vividly. Yes.
And she was like, I don't understand. And I'm like, okay, okay, you're going to make me cry. Don't make me cry. But yeah, I, for some reason, had just been through so much, like, obviously my health scare and then my car accident, and just like life sort of was hard. It just was like, okay, well, I'm going to have this beautiful life until I'm 40. And then at 40, everything changed. Everything changed. I left my job. I worked for a local builder that sort of sparked all my knowledge for construction. So I built my company based on so many things that I had learned. So everything changed. And then I lost my dad. And then I moved my mom closer. My mom and I are now like best friends, and I literally can't imagine life without her. And I just think that when I turned 50, everyone, every single one. It's like, okay, it's like you have you get married and everyone's
Hmm.
like, so when are you going to have children?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right? Can I just
Yeah.
enjoy being married? Right.
Yeah.
So then you're like, you turn 50 and literally the first question is always, so how does it feel being 50?
Yes. I just did it. I'm like, tell me about being 50.
Yeah. Because we have this barometer out in the world about how like 50 is like when everything changes. But for me, 50, like personally, was like, damn, I'm 10 years past when I honestly thought in my stupid head that I was going to, not live. And I think that it was a big celebration for me. Do I
Yeah.
feel different? I mean, I do, I have no idea if I'm in menopause, by the way. So, but I'm sure I'll figure that out at some point. I've obviously surrounded with it in all my algorithms. It's being
Yeah.
thrown in my face. Every single reel is about
Thank you,
menopause.
Instagram. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I just don't live that way. I've never lived that way. I just am like, I'll figure it out as it comes. So, my body feels stronger now than it ever has. I've shifted from cardio, which I stick to like twice a week, to mostly strength. I surround myself with women who are like minded, so who love fitness and who, like, we really do love to work hard, play hard. I think we work really hard during the day at work, and then we all sort of let it all out at the gym, and that's helped me in my 50s. Like, it's given me a purpose to
Yeah.
focus on the betterment of my body and my mind.
I think what you said is so important there. And I just want to preface this. I think the world right now is so consumed with aging a certain way and menopause and like taking care of ourselves and wellness, if you will, and like wanting to take all these supplements. And I've heard this said time and time again. I'm just looking at you living this, is that the number one thing we can do for our well-being is be surrounded by people, feel a sense of belonging, and have a sense of purpose. And that more
Yeah.
than anything is like what's going to keep us feeling healthy and vibrant and have vitality. And I see you doing that. I see you feeling the sense of belonging, whether it's with the friends or whether it's in your partnership with the kids, with your coworkers. And then on top of it, this huge drive, the sense of purpose. Like, you're getting up every morning, like you need to be
Yeah.
somewhere. You got people to show up for. Like, you don't have a choice. And I think that for women is the thing that keeps us going. And I think what happens in midlife is some of us lose that purpose. We lose that drive. We're not really sure where we're going or what's next for us. We lose that community. And I see you doing it. And I'm like, maybe that's what, maybe that's Gail's secret sauce, is she has that belonging and that purpose.
Well, I think like we all reach this, whether it be midlife or whether it be when you're 20, whether it be when you're 30, I think we all like, we just keep going, right? And then we all sort of find this like plateau. We're like, ugh,
Yeah.
like something has to change. I happen to just always think of what's next, of like, okay, well, this isn't making me feel good, and, that Domino's pizza I had with my kids is like making me, I don't feel guilty about it, but I wake
Yeah.
up the next morning, I go to the gym, not because I'm looking to lose the weight. I'm going
Yeah.
because it's important for me mentally. Otherwise, I will feel guilty about maybe not eating as well as I should. I don't count calories or grams or any of that. I'm a huge carb lover. I love wine. My husband is sober. He has been now for just over 2 years. And, I think I called you the day he was
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
about it, because that was a whole newness to our family,
Yeah.
and the dynamic has been fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I think we all need to just, I think the secret sauce is like, continue to believe in yourself and that you could do anything. Just do one thing, baby step. Like, you want to become a designer? You know what? Go to your friend's house and tell her to film like something that you're doing in her living room, and start an Instagram account. Little things, like, just do it. Like, you start a podcast, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
You just do it.
you're like, by the
Get
way,
a mic and just do it.
but
It's
I mean, I
perfect.
think you just have to just do it,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so inspiring. Okay. I feel like I have 65 more questions.
We didn't talk about the grief.
We didn't talk about grief. That's how
We
we
should
need.
probably talk about that.
Okay, well, let's do that then. So, thinking back about how many years ago did he pass away?
It's really funny. I have to think about it every time, because that is one thing that I may have compartmentalized, actually.
Yeah.
It'll be, I believe, 8 years this June. Yeah.
So you had already left your career.
Yes. Well, I had called him from that parking lot
Yeah.
in Greenwich,
Yeah.
and who was my hardest call to make. But yes, it was right. Basically, yeah, it was before. But yeah.
How has that, losing him at such a vulnerable stage in your life, right? Like, here you are, this young mother, you are taking a huge leap of faith and becoming an entrepreneur. You lose your dad. How did losing him shape you?
Well, I think that I was shaped prior to his passing, because, again, like, my parents just instilled in me to, to be very driven. I mean, obviously that comes from yourself, but I think that they were a huge influence. And my dad was built his empire from nothing, and I always admired
Yeah.
that. And I so when he passed away, I didn't understand how the world could keep going. Right?
Yeah. I can see that.
I got actually his last words tattooed on my arm. I never gave myself the luxury of stopping, of um, taking a break and taking a pause and all of those things. Of course, it's so important. But what I mean is just like let grief and let failure become an opportunity. And you have to go through it, right? You have to process it, just like losing toxic friendships or toxic clients or whatever. You have to
Yeah.
like tread through
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
mud, right? You have to feel all the feelings, and there's a lot of therapy in that. There's a lot of really good that comes through letting yourself feel everything, all the
Yeah.
stages of grief, and it's ugly, the ugly crying, the am I allowed to be happy in this moment?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
weird? Like this whole thing, right? And this whole like living on the planet without your hero. Like, how is that even possible? So I read books. I don't read much, but I read books. I watched a lot of documentaries on grief, and I talked to people, and I said, I've got to make him proud. And that is what sort of just keeps me going. And every time I have a proud moment, I'm super bummed that he's not there. Turning 50 without him was really
Mm.
sad. But then I'm like, there's a reason that my mom is around for it all too. Cause like I was
Yeah.
like super close with my dad growing up. I was super close with my mom too, but my dad was like, always like the apple of my eye. And then this chapter, like my mom just has like taken over, just
Oh,
like,
I love that.
and it's almost like she's been able to fill so many voids. So in a way he's like, all right, well, my time has
My
passed,
parting gift. Yeah.
yeah, this is, and so like you keep doing you, and you and your mom and your sister, like you're going to be just fine. So I
Yeah.
think but for me, losing him was this like, again, very eye-opening moment of, okay, like you got to keep going.
What does it look like for you today? I mean, I know it's been 8 years. And I know you just mentioned about how on your 50th, like it was still very bittersweet with him being gone, but what does that look like today? Like what does grief feel like for you today? Is it something that's sort of omnipresent for you, that feeling of him not being there? What does it look like?
So that's a really great question. I think it sort of comes and goes, and every grief is different. Like by no means am I, for me, I live with him constantly in my heart. I think of him a lot, like a lot, but it's not as like I don't go to bed at night crying
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I don't wake up with an emptiness in my heart every day. Doesn't mean that I don't, but every day. I don't want to say has gotten easier, but you learn to live with grief. And everything I do, I try to honor him and his memory.
I could see that. Do
Mhm.
you feel his presence with you now? Like,
Oh,
in
yes. Yes. I'm a big believer of signs. Like, I'm
yeah,
not
me
even
too.
kidding. Like, to the point where, like, even my husband would be like, okay, well, that's just a cardinal because someone is coming. No,
No,
but like, no, I mean, he's a big believer
it's
too, but like,
beautiful.
yeah, I mean, I'm a huge believer of signs. I rarely believe in coincidence. Like, there's a
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. And that has to bring you some comfort and some peace.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have your mom, I mean, the relationship that the two of you have together is so beautiful. And that would be obviously different if you were still here. Not that, you trade one for the other, but that is a beautiful bonus gift. The
Yeah. I
relationship the
mean,
two of you have.
I think grief is a big pivotal moment. I think health crises are big pivotal moments. There's, big moments in life, including having children and all of those things, and that make you who you are. But I would say that age helps with confidence. It helps with making relationships more valuable to you.
Yeah.
And so I would just leave it at that.
I love that. What are you looking forward to the most? Like what's exciting for you right now on your radar? What's Gail like excited about?
My son coming home from college,
I bet. I can see that.
hands down.
We're
It's like,
counting down the days.
oh my God. Yeah. He's, I'm very close with both of my boys, and the dynamic of him leaving the household and the family of four
Mm-mm.
rocked my world.
I will not be okay.
Rocked. Well, I don't think anybody's okay, but I will tell you that the anticipation was worse than the
Okay.
moment.
Okay.
Um,
That's good
but
to know.
yes, like for me, again, like for me, and I wrote a lot about this, because it was like one of those things where I was like writing a lot, like about this part of my life. But him coming home, like I actually like get like a plastered smile on my face just thinking about it. I mean, where he comes home next Friday, I'm just so happy just to be a family again.
Yes.
And he
Yes.
wants to come home, and isn't that the
Yeah.
best?
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact that he wants to be home, and that it's exciting. And
It's good.
but it's funny because earlier we were saying, like, when you get married, everybody asks about when you're going to have a baby, and then when you turn
Yeah.
50, like how it feels. And so when I talk a lot about college, there's so many people out there who are like, well, just wait till he gets married, that's when you really
What? Don't even say that to me. Why would people be so mean? They're never getting married. Don't say that.
And you're
I'm
like,
just kidding.
oh, hey, thanks. It's like when you're pregnant and someone feels the need to tell you a horror story about their birth. And you're
No.
like, wait, what? Like, who
No,
are these
no.
people?
But listen, that's why I think you do such a good job of like living in this moment. Like you do, whether it was because of the health scare, the car accident that forced you to be like, I'm just going to get to a 40. Like there is a part of that you really live in the now, in this moment. And I think that's really beautiful. Like you're not worrying about when he's getting married. And there are people who do focus on this stuff. Like you're enjoying this phase. And I can't wait till next Friday till he comes home for you too. And I can't wait to hear
Yay.
about it. And
Thank you.
I just appreciate all of your just all of your insight and your wisdom. And I appreciate all of your honesty and sharing so much. I adore you. I'm such a huge fan of you. And I know women are going to relate to so much of what you shared today. So
And we
just,
didn't talk at all about my work. We talked about like my life. I feel bad.
no, that's what I wanted to talk about. You should
Okay,
not,
good.
no, it was perfect. It was perfect. It was perfect.